Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey guys, what's up? This is D-Spin. For the Friday interview today, we have Obscuro and Jelly, who are two people who have a history with street art and graffiti art. Very cool conversation. They're telling me all about their sort of history, how they got into graffiti art and street art, their sort of evolution within the game, what their ideals were, and kind of how their story came to an end, and if it didn't completely finish, what's next for them. It's a really cool interview. But they asked me to change their names, obviously, and their voices. So Obscuro has kind of a megaphone sound to him, and Jelly has sort of a robot sound to him. But the interview is really cool. I hope you like it. I have some great stuff planned for next week. But in the meantime, for your Friday and through the weekend, I hope you listen to this. One of the documentaries that I reference is Exit Through the Gift Shop, which is done by Banksy, who's probably the most famous street art musician. Street art graffiti artist, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how you would say it, but he makes tons of money. His artwork is adored all over the world, and when his pieces come up in your city, it is a huge deal. So if you're more interested in the subculture, that's a good film to watch. It's really amazing. But yeah, these guys were great to kind of donate their time and enlighten me a little bit about this interesting subculture. So yeah, Obscuro and Jelly and street art. Here we go. Morning Deuce. So we're off. So I'm here with Obscuro and Jelly. And we're going to talk about, I guess, street art, graffiti, and that entire sort of subculture, which you guys have a lot of experience in, and maybe just your origination and your little run-in with that that form of art and that face. Have you guys seen Enter Through the Gift Shop?
Yeah, we watched it, and
Did you watch it together?
yeah, we watched it together one time, I think at your house, and we watched it, and it was really surprising. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was about like a completely different character. It wasn't about Banksy.
Mm-hmm.
Banksy had made it, and then there's some like conspiracy theories about that, like the guy, I think it was Mr. Bizarro or something like that, no, Mr. Brainwash. I think that was Banksy doing a side experiment. At least that's what I thought. So the guy on camera was actually Banksy pretending to be Mr. Brainwash, just to kind of do sort of like a side thing to show, I don't know, kind of the difference between what real street art might be and what something that's more contrived, something that's not coming from a real place of inspiration or expression. It's coming from a like sort of like a monetary or
Greed thing.
Yeah, like where they're doing it for fame. They're doing it for like kind of a more shallow reason.
What did you think of it? Was this before you guys were doing, or were you already?
Yeah, I think the first time we'd seen the movie was maybe 6 months or a year after we'd started, something like that. And when we watched it, and it was, I remember we felt very inspired afterward. It made us want to go out and do it more. Mm-hmm. But it was certainly after we had started.
I think it made me as an artist want to keep focusing on making good art, mm-hmm. quote unquote good art, like, because what we saw in that is that you can do these ideas, you can hire artists and you can make images, but if there's no like real soul or like real expression going on, then it's not good art. Like, it looks good, it looks like art, it is art, it's not like past this threshold, mm-hmm. of really good images that like say something that impact people.
So that was my first sort of foray into at least knowing about kind of graffiti art as a subculture and street art. I have a great friend I grew up with whose little brother became sort of a street artist and started because he would draw all over different things, and then he tagged his entire room, and he would have everyone who was kind of a close friend who had been to the house sign his room, and then build it into all this artwork, and he just extrapolated, develop his own tags and stuff, and then he would go on trips and like went to San Francisco and just did tagging. Like the whole trip was based around that. It's really like seems like almost like addictive, like a drug, where you just like want more of it once you do it, and it's just such a cool, like expressing your art and also doing it in kind of a badass, rebellious way. It's got to be pretty neat. So how did you guys sort of get started? You obviously knew each other before this process, or did you know each other because of this process?
I think we had known each other not terribly long, maybe 8 months or so. We'd known each other, and then we went to a trip. We went to his hometown. We went to visit some people in his hometown, and it was late at night. It was maybe like 1 or 2 in the morning, and we were talking about things that we kind of always wanted to do, or things that we weren't supposed to do that we wish we could do. And the idea of doing graffiti or street art came up, and we sort of fed off each other after that point. Like, oh yeah, like I had all these ideas and all these cool thoughts that would be awesome to put somewhere. It's just something that I've always kind of wanted to do. And then as the conversation went on, the excitement about the whole idea grew and grew until it came to the point where we said, okay, we have to go out and do this right now, because if we don't, we're going to lose this momentum, and then we're just never going to end up doing it.
This was just in a weekend, and somehow you sort of were just like, we're both interested in it.
Yes.
Because I know that Obscuro, you have like an artistic sort of, I mean, you're very much in the art world all the time, especially with drawing and such. Whereas Jelly, your version of the art world is a little bit more, I guess, like creative and written and other things, and as opposed to just drawing, I guess? Or were you more in a drawing phase at that point as well, too?
No, Obscuro is definitely, for the very few people I've ever talked about this with, I think is the bulk of the talent behind the actual designing of the images, or at least certainly the drawing portion, because I cannot draw to save that.
Okay, and yet you were so invested in wanting to do this without that skill
I will
set.
say the way our team works out, the roles that we play is like, and the talent, the know-how of the kind of the raw, how to make a stencil, how to spray it, like things you gotta watch out for, you gotta wear gloves, you gotta do this. We have like a whole set of rules. Whereas Jelly is the sort of energy, the vision, the ideals, and sort of the drive to all of it. So both of those things that night came together and made kind of like, it was just like way too good of an idea.
So you should just go to your parents' basement and like, let's make a stencil?
We went out to the garage. Well, we didn't even make a stencil at that point. We just went out to the garage and was like, let's just ruin something. Let's just do a thing. So we just went out with black spray paint and made marks on stuff. Like we painted a mailbox and a street light lamppost thing. And just, I think the first thing we wrote was aliens. It just words. We just ruined stuff. It was just that, and at that point, that's just vandalism. We weren't really making art at that point. It's just making the mark to kind of incite the whole thing.
Okay.
And push us into the process.
So on the threshold level, that would be more on the criminal and less on the art spectrum?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Almost all the way over to the criminal side.
So how did that sort of weekend of just being like, let's graffiti stuff become more of like, let's make this an expressionary thing that we end up doing?
Well, I think we just started looking at, of course, artists like Banksy is where we drew some inspiration from. At least I do personally, and then Jelly knows a lot about Banksy too, or at least just for me, like kind of spouting off about him, like, oh, this guy's so cool, he does this. And then there's Shepard Fairey, and then there's JR, and then there's all these artists that I was just like, okay, they're going out and not necessarily doing legal stuff, but for the right reasons, or to just make a statement, and then you talk about like, well, what is criminal, and then what is street art. So like, why does Banksy stuff stay up, and then why does some other just random? Well, there might not even be a random graffiti writer. It might be like really established and have their artwork up all over it. Why does their stuff get painted over where Banksy stuff stays up? So at the time when we got into it, all this history had already been happening between graffiti and street art, and what the difference is, and is it criminal, is it art? For us, we're at the tail end of this, so I would call us like post-street art, which is kind of a movement that's going on right now, where street art's totally cool, it's commissioned. There's still illegal stuff going on. There's stuff that you get permission to do, but it's all out in the street, so that's what it has in common. But the purpose, the intent, is the thing that kind of is different. So for us, it was the thrill, but also trying to like make a name, like make this character up, the Jelly Squid. And
so when your first weekend or whatever, you guys go out and you tag, and it's mostly like on the graffiti side, and it's mostly just words and stuff. How did you feel after that weekend when you came back? Was it like we need to figure out how to do this better and more, or like what was the vibe on that?
Yeah, I think we came back. I'm trying to remember the first piece that we did. It was this zombie that we did, I think, on top of like a railroad crossing. Like this big metal wall that was guarding a railroad. And at that point, I don't think we had really constructed a vision quite yet, or a direction, so much as we were really just trying to figure out the logistics of it. Obscuro, obviously, he knew everything about how to make the stencil and everything, but it was just sort of just testing the waters a little bit. And I got a little bit impatient with it, and so I was really trying to just do things as fast as we possibly could. And my whole goal at the time was just, I want things to look cool, and I want them to, I want people to sort of smile when they see it. This was sort of my goal with it, and I didn't really know it at the time. But I feel like I trailed off there a little bit. I'm not sure where I'm going with this conversation now.
That's fine. So you guys put the zombie up. You were saying that was the first one, and you just wanted to kind of like be prolific and make a lot of things and get them up that look cool to make people happy.
I think it's like a concept development, like a creative process was just to make things, and I think after that piece, one or two others that like were the little zombie guy didn't really fit in with where we ended up going. Where we ended up after we talked and made some pieces.
And this is still in like the first couple weeks of you doing this stuff?
I would say after a month in, because we'd maybe do one or two things a month, because you had to go out so late and do it in secret and in the dark of night. After a month or two of that, we said, okay, well, I think we just had like one really good idea. That was the gorilla, maybe. And then the work started looking a certain way, and the concept also started going more towards like pop culture ideas, and we started painting certain places too, like they were abandoned, and they were becoming more public too. We weren't just doing it in places where there was other graffiti too. We were starting to hit. We hit a high school. We hit abandoned building, but it was like right on one of the main drags in town. So the location, the images, the concepts started lining up.
Becoming more mature, I guess, is a way to say that. Like in your entire process was becoming more mature.
More bold. Like we were putting ourselves out there more.
I'd say sort of where we landed was using pop culture as a sort of a starting point for an idea, and then placing it in places that were more relevant we were sort of taking it out of context. So there was a piece that we did that was the Edgar bug from Men in Black. And he says, "Give me sugar." And that scene itself like has context to what we ended up doing was putting it on a chocolate factory that was there because we thought that was great, and we put it there just because it added a slightly different context, and it was an enjoyable piece to digest. It wasn't anything radical, it wasn't offensive. It was just something to put up that felt good to put up.
And I think in our career as street artists at this point is where that piece is where it got interesting, because that was a daytime piece. Well, we did it the night before.
And the first time we did it was a nighttime piece, and then we went out because we wanted to document it. But by the time we had gotten there, it had already been painted.
At like 11 or 12 in the next day.
Were you pissed because of how much work you had put into it?
I was not happy at all, because it was a very well done piece.
How long did it take you to put up?
It takes about 30 seconds to do a stencil.
But it took you to
to make a stencil. That takes a few hours. Like I work on it for 3-4 hours, cutting it out and everything, cutting out all the details. I mean, they're simple. They're one color or whatever. And then to go out there and actually do it, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And you're wasting this night, and you usually do it on like a weeknight when it's not like where there's definitely going to be people out, like on a Saturday night. There's no drunkies trudging home. So you're doing it on this really inconspicuous night, you think. And
so you went and thought about this piece for a little while. It took a couple hours to build it all together. It only takes 30 seconds to come up, and then within 12 hours it's
down.
So how did that change things for you guys from there?
Sort of beginning at the end, yeah. I was
pieces have you put up by this time?
Dozens. Dozen?
No, it was way more. It's probably close to maybe 30 pieces. If you want to count reproductions of like the small one, like the tiny zombie one that we first started.
It's slapped up.
So many different places, yeah. But so when that piece got taken down, this is where the energy and the desire to do this sort of went a little too far, and I was not happy at all. And so I decided that because I knew other people who had done this sort of thing during the day, as long as you're wearing the right clothes, you have the right attitude while you're doing it, people assume that you may or may not belong there. And so I came up to Obscuro and told him that I want to do it during the day. I want this back up, and I want it up now, and I think we need to do this and then take photographs of it and then get out of there. And so we did. And so we went out there, we went back to the chocolate factory with, I think it was the same stencil. I don't think we had to recreate it. And so we used the same one. So I went up there.
Same spot?
Exact same spot. Sprayed it on the chocolate factory. As I was spraying it, Obscuro was sort of on the side. He was supposed to be kind of a lookout.
Actually, I had the cell phone up, and I was pretending to be talking on the cell phone, but the video was playing on the other side. So there's video of it out there somewhere. Did we delete it?
Yes.
Out of guilt, we deleted it.
And as I was spraying it, the owner of the chocolate factory walks out and sees what I'm doing. At this point, I'm so engrossed with getting it done and trying to be as confident as possible. She comes out and says, "Hey, what are you doing? We just took that down." And I tell her, I just glanced at her very quickly and said, "Oh, I'm just spraying this up. I'll be done in a second, and I'll leave." And I continued doing it, and she says, "Stop, what's your name?" And I gave her this fake name. And I kept going, and she was yelling at me to stop. And then I immediately took the stencil down and started walking very briskly away. And I think that that was sort of going to be the end of it. And I was going to sort of, go off onto this trail. And she continues to go. She says, "Stop! Help! Somebody stop this person!" And so I say, "Shit!" And I just bolt and I start running. And so I'm sprinting down the streets, and I end up taking off the sunglasses, the hat I had on. And I took off the shirt that I had on as well, and put on maybe a different shirt. And I threw them all in this dumpster that was nearby, and I gross. And I continued walking down the street. And this guy kind of pulls up in this red pickup truck beside me. He's going very slowly. He just sort of looks at me. He's got this weird look on his face. I'm like, can I help you? And he says, why was that woman yelling back there? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, let me explain. He's like, you're damn right you're going to explain. And then he starts giving me my own description. He's like, you're about 5'10", you're about this weight. I was like, oh, well, shit. So this guy now obviously knows what happens, and he's going to try and do something about it. And so I run into this person's backyard and sort of come out the other side. And so he thinks I went one way, but I really went a different way. So I see him drive off. And so at that point, I walked down the railroad tracks, walking along the railroad tracks, and then I look over, and maybe 50 yards away, I see this cop car that's sort of pacing me as I go. And at that point, I'm not gonna try and run from this cop who's right there. I don't really have anywhere to go. And so I sort of walked out and just kind of gave myself up at that point.
Do you think that you could have just reacted differently to the guy in the car?
I don't know that I could have. I don't know what else would have come from it, because he clearly knew what was happening. He knew I did something wrong. Whether or not he knew what I had done, but he knew that some woman was yelling at me, saying that this person needs to be stopped. I don't know what else I could have done differently.
I think that guy might have seen the whole thing go down, because I didn't see that guy. Because at that point, I was like, it flukes up, and I just like hit end. I started just walking the other way, like, I don't want anything to do with that. I think I kept my cool pretty well, because I was freaked out. I was like, oh my god, this is it. And
was this your
was.
first daytime piece?
First and only daytime, first and last.
For now. Until this inspires you to continue again. So tell me about some of the pieces. So you said there was a gorilla piece.
The gorilla piece was funny. I love that piece. So I just did some gorilla drawings, picked one out that I like, made a stencil, and then we just make the gorilla say stuff. I think the first one was...
The first one was more offensive. Yeah, the first one was I'm not entirely proud of that one. I really liked the piece itself. So it was a gorilla, and it was on an abandoned pet shop.
Yeah.
And it was this massive gorilla, and it said, "Ever been fisted?" with a question mark. At the time, I did not realize that that's what it was going to say. Like, I was putting up the gorilla itself, and so I was putting up the gorilla, and then I took down the stencil, and I looked over, and Obscuro has written beside it, "Ever been fisted?" And I was like, well, it's up now, and then we just sort of took off from there, and
which is actually hilarious.
It is hilarious, but at the time, and I mean, now it's like it was just a little more crude and offensive than I had originally thought we were going to be doing it.
That got erased. That got painted over pretty quickly, so I had to go back.
Well, right before it got erased, we went to the store, the restaurant that was right across from it, just because we wanted to sit and look at it because we felt really good about it. And we looked over it, and someone else had come and added to it. And so it was this massive gorilla. It said, "Ever been fisted?" And somebody at the bottom of it had written, "in the mouth," or something like it was in the mouth or in the butt, or something like that.
Another hole.
Yeah, another hole. And so, I mean, clearly somebody else thought it was good enough to, deal with it, or maybe not good enough, and so they wanted to improve it. But yeah, then it got taken down, and so it was several weeks later, because we were still fairly new at it. We went back and put it back in there again, and then once more, we sort of had a disagreement, I think, when we were going to do it, is that I wanted it just to be a gorilla and say, "I'm back," with an exclamation point, so that would be fun, like, "Hey, I'm back," and so I look over, Obscuro, I look over again, and Obscuro has written, "I'm back, lick my butt." And once again, I'm like, whatever, I mean, it's done, let's get going. And then that one got taken down. I don't think we put anything back up on that wall after that one got taken down.
That one along with, like, when we started moving into, like, the movie pop culture references, That one got a couple of people had taken pictures of it, and there's like some on Facebook. And then the Bill Murray one was like smack dab in the biggest intersection on that side of town, and it was right next to the college, so all the college kids were coming by and snapping pictures of that.
This was before the Bill Murray trend was particularly strong.
I think it was just starting, and we were just like, hey, we love Bill Murray too, and just like started making Bill Murray stencils and saying things like, well, not really any quotes, just doing like really nice stencils of Bill Murray, and then like, hey, how are ya, or just nothing like particularly Bill Murray-esque.
Was it like the one of him in the collar?
I would say that we were one of the first ones to do that one on our own and put it up.
I did that one a few times, but there was one I remember of him just like with this really sly look on his face. And the text that we put on it was, well, hello there.
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite piece.
Yeah, that's probably the best Bill one we've done. Remember the Bill party? Oh my God!
We threw what we called a Bill party, and we went underneath this bridge. And
did all the stencils we had made at that point.
I just did every Bill Murray stencil that we
Still there.
Yeah, is it still there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. And we just put bills up all over just this massive wall of bills and called it a Bill party.
Yeah. Because Bill goes and crashes parties often.
Yeah.
He'll just go, he'll be whatever town he's in, he'll just he'll like see something on Facebook or see like a thing and like, I'm gonna go do karaoke tonight, and he'll just crash a party. Nobody's expecting Bill Murray to be there, but he's there. So he built a party.
That's awesome. So I have so many questions, but first off, you sort of developed like a tag on your own work, what you were talking about, like the Jelly Squid Kid. How did that kind of happen, and was that a separate stencil that you would put on the corner of everything?
Yeah, so I made that stencil, maybe 2 or 3 different versions of it, just kind of playing with the design and letting it evolve. And it turned out to be like kind of, the jellies on SpongeBob, kind of a stencil of one of those. That's kind of what it's based on. So imagine that, black and white, and it says JSK under it, Jelly Squid Kid, pow. And I feel like we should have just plastered that town with that thing just to get the name out more. And we did that one quite a bit. We did it on the school. We did it on...
Was it just that, or was that also associated with something else? Like when you did the high school, was it just the Jelly Squid, or was it that plus other stuff?
I don't think we ever put the JSK logo on the high school.
It was there. Because we did...
We did Anthony the big piece on there, and then on the corner, we do like a smaller...
A smaller Jelly Squid
Just
Kid.
like put the name on the piece. Yeah, that's sort of what it was.
So what is Anthony?
So there is an internet show that sort of gained a bit of popularity called Hey Ash, What You Playin'? And it's his brother and sister, Ashley and Anthony Birch, and they do these funny short films or short skits, I guess you might call them, that are based on different video games. And it's sort of got a small cult following now. They've been at a few conventions. Ashley Birch is getting super famous now. She does a bunch of voices in like Mortal Kombat, Adventure Time.
Some of our pieces were featured in some of their fan art. They asked for fan art for their end of their show, like they put it in the credits. So we had a bunch of pieces featured.
We had done this one that was taken from a scene in one of their shorts of Anthony, who gets frustrated with his sister's shenanigans and decides that he's going to kill himself. That sounds really terrible, but in the context of the short film, it's really hilarious. And so he gets tired of her shenanigans. He's like, I'm going to end it, and shoots himself. And during the episode, she's acting in really stupid ways, and he says, "Stop, you have to use your brain." And so we took that quote, and we had put it on an image of him with a gun to his head. And we put that image on the high school, and then in the blood spatter from the side of his head, in it we wrote, "You have to use your brain," which I think in a lot of different ways is a really great piece. And the fact on a high school, we put it on a high school, which I at the time thought made it even better. I still think in the ways it did.
In a lot of ways it does, except for the whole
like suicide thing. That part went over bad.
There was actually a time I was actually told by one of the employees at the high school that they were, at the time, pulling kids out of class to interview them because they were worried that one of them was through suicidal thoughts.
Maybe we help that kid though. I mean, maybe that kid maybe actually needs someone to like knock on their door.
Non-existent kid, or the several kids that they pulled out of class.
Maybe they just, maybe help the kid out.
How big was it?
It was pretty big.
Yeah, we do our pieces.
How big was the gorilla? How big? Yeah.
All of them are as big as a dollar store piece of tag board.
So like a couple feet, I guess?
Yeah, 3x2.
So your gorilla was 3x2?
Yep. No, actually the gorilla was bigger. The gorilla was made out of 2 pieces. Yeah. And so it was actually double the size.
That was probably the biggest piece we did because we needed to make it life size like a real gorilla.
Very big gorilla.
That's awesome. So how long did you guys do? I mean, so we already heard about the end. The end was Jelly getting caught on a railroad track by a police officer, which we can talk more about that in a little bit. But how long did this go on from the writing aliens on people's mailboxes to committing suicide on the wall of a school building?
So I also was thinking about this whole context. So we're 2 kids at this point, college kids, wanting to go and do this thing. There's so much. I almost feel like what we did is disrespectful to street art and graffiti as a whole. Like all the history that has been going on is really in depth. People have gone to jail. People that are really prolific have been making art forever. They're super famous. What we were trying to do is just do our own deal. We're not trying to be Banksy. We're not trying to get to their level or whatever. That would have been nice. But that's a lot of work. You have to really devote yourself to it, and that's what we realized.
I will say, though, that Ashley Birch did once call us the Geek Banksy. I'm not trying to say we did anything, that we were particularly good, but that was...
And I'll say that that's kind of what we were aiming at. So the course of 8 months, let's say.
It was a relatively short period of time. Yeah. For the life of the Jelly Squid Kid. It was a relatively short period of time. Probably about 8 to 12 months.
However, fairly prolific during the 8 to 12 months.
I would say 1 to 2 pieces a month.
It was a few more. If you want to count the repeat pieces.
Yeah, because it would repeat stuff. Yes. And then there's a few pieces that I made and some extras that Jelly went on did on his own. I was always there for moral support somehow, like the getaway driver. Changing out the letters in what are those things?
Signs.
The traffic light signs where they say traffic changing up ahead or whatever, the emergency signs that they trailer out there. Changing the text in those to say hey Ash, what you playing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When
I would count all those as well.
So
jelly strikes,
yeah.
Jelly stings. Oh, I just invented that. I've been calling them jelly stings the whole time.
So to speak to the number of pieces that were done during our career at that time, because I ended up getting a Coral Point lawyer.
Okay, so let's go back to that. So the police officer catches you after you've reapplied this bug onto the chocolate factory, and you come out from the railroad track and give yourself up to this police officer. So then what happens next? And I think that'll lead to your sort of numericalness of your pieces.
So I was brought into an interrogation room, and I was sat there and told that the detective was going to be in shortly. And so I'm sitting there, I'm waiting.
How do you feel?
I'm very nervous at this point because let's just say I was nervous. I was very nervous at the time. The detective comes in, and he's a man that I know. He's a man that I had worked with in the past. I didn't know he was the person who was going to be interviewing me, but it made me feel a little bit more comfortable. But I look at his arm, and he's got this thick binder, and he just sets it on the table. He just sets it on the table. And he sort of asked me similar questions. How do you feel? I answered, I told him I'm very nervous. Which probably isn't the greatest thing to tell a cop, because that's sort of, now he knows that he can sort of make me do whatever he wants.
He's got your notes.
Yeah. And then he starts opening the binder, and it turns out that, I mean, we just thought we were going out and doing these things, like maybe some people were taking notice, some people weren't, maybe it's just the property owners were upset and just like paying over to stupid kids and paying over it. But it turns out, him and some other detective were actually working on this throughout our entire career and had cataloged every single one that we had done. And so he opens it and starts flipping through it and pointing at them, and he goes, "We know this was you." Flips over, "We know this was you." Flips over, "We know this was you." And there were like 2 or 3 that he wanted me to confirm, but I went ahead and confirmed it. And then he asked me to go through an initial by each one, like my real initials. And so I did. And at that point, he's like, "All right, well, I'm going to speak with the district attorney, and we're going to talk about charges and things like that. Let me go drop you off at your apartment." So he brings me over to the apartment, drops me off, but then also confiscates some of my stuff on my computer, because we had him to know on his blog that we had put them online.
I didn't think
And
about that
They
too.
knew about that. They found the blog, saw all the pictures and stuff that were on there, and so he wanted all the pictures from my computer. I'm not savvy with the law in this region about what they are and are not allowed to take, but I just gave it to him. So I gave him the computer, and he was like, "All right, we're going to go through your hard drive, and we'll give it back to you." I was like, "Fine, whatever."
That part freaked me out because we shared emails, we shared a lot of things, and I had accessed the website a lot at that point also. So I was sitting there probably equally as nervous. Not to the extent because you were like actually sitting there in the office there, but like you start thinking about it, there's so many different ways that they can take you down. Mm-hmm. There's all they have to do is look twice, and there's my name, or there's his name, and they're like, "Oh, we can charge you for that too, and you're an accomplice, and this and that." Like, I was waiting for a knock on my door the whole time. Mm-hmm.
But in the end, Obscuro was not connected to any of this. After being dropped off, I actually went to Obscuro's apartment, and I went in there. I told him about the whole thing, and he's like, "Shit, I'm just going to delete everything. Just take all this stuff that we have, I'm going to get rid of it, and then we're going to wait for all this to blow over. Have a pint, and wait for all this to blow over."
What did you delete?
Well, we had taken pictures of things. I had pictures of the stencils, and that would have obviously directly connected me to the pieces. So I deleted all that. Pieces that I had going currently, I disposed of those. Any stencils, like all of that went in the garbage. Like I went back to zero, and I pretended like I had never ever done it.
And so so what happened after that? Prosecution of this entire thing? You're court appointed?
Yeah, after that, I believe I was given a court summons, and so I went to court by myself, and they asked me, and I tried to tell my mom about it much later. My dad still doesn't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went to court, and I don't remember what they asked me or how exactly it went, but I ended up asking for a court-appointed lawyer. And so they sent me away. A couple days later, I had a call from the court-appointed lawyer, and I went into her office, and she's probably the coolest individual on the planet. She's very, very nice. She's very understanding. And I go in there, and she, very much like the detective, has this very, very thick binder. And after we spoke for a while, she reaches over and grabs it off of the shelf and puts it down, another big thud on the desk, and says, "I've never seen anybody with this much evidence against them and not facing potential prison time," which sort of speaks to the volume of work that we've done. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, damn, okay, that's makes me a little nervous, but that's good, I guess. That's neat." And so we talked for a while, and she tells me that she really likes this children's storybook called Nanicula about this vampire pony that sucks juices out of cats.
I'm
And
familiar. I'm a fan of Bunnicula as well.
Right. And so we go to court, and she talks to the judge. Also, side note, she also said that the DA says that the artwork was very, very beautiful, and that she very much liked it, and it was very sad that she had to prosecute.
Oh, wow. So you're getting compliments.
I'm getting weird compliments from the people who are supposed to be getting me in trouble. But, so we go to court, and the charges ended up being, I want to say close to $1,000, and then 60 hours of community service, which is not bad at all. It's considered, considered.
Yeah, that's like months of jail time maximum. Months or a year or so.
and the charge.
I think 2 counts of criminal mischief in the second degree. And if you want to know the details of that, you can look it up if you like. And then afterward, because I was so relieved that I wasn't going to prison, or even going to jail for several months, I actually made a stencil on my own, made a stencil of Bunnicula, and sprayed it onto a canvas, and then framed it, and then gave it to her as a gift. And she, I believe to this day, has it up on the wall in her office.
So, how did you guys decide the jelly was going to be your logo? I know you said it was loosely based on the jelly from SpongeBob, but
The way I remember it was we were in Obscuro's apartment again, and we were trying to think of a name.
dedicated like hours of this whole like hours and hours
Yeah.
between the website and the stencils and the thought process and the picking and the
Yeah, and me as an artist, like, I eat that kind of stuff up. Like, yes, let's make a name, let's have a logo, let's have, like, we need to have, like, a solid concept, we need to go, like, to, make all our decisions intentionally.
The way we ended up landing on Jelly Squid, I think might have been because I really like jellyfish. It's like this weird interest that I have. I've read a great deal about jellyfish, that they're awesome. And then Obscuro had said that he likes squids. Thinks that squids were cool. Yeah. And then so we're like, and then we tossed around a couple names, and we said Jelly Squid Kid. And we just thought it was like, alright, let's keep that. It'll be a temporary name for now. I mean, we'll think of something better later on, and then we never did.
Yep. That's like Little Dicky.
Sure.
Little Dicky came up with the name for his like rap comediness and was like, oh, I'm gonna call myself Little Dicky. I'll just keep that for now. And he made a document of like 250 other names, and at the very end was like, I think Little Dicky might just be the best one, and I've kind of been thinking about it the most. So like, let's just do that.
The Geek Banks and Little Dickies of Graffiti. That's what we've been told by 2 different people.
So have you done any, besides your Bunnicula, have you guys done any street art, graffiti, etc. in that time? Sort of like
After
display of something in an illegal way?
I moved into mural painting,
Mm-hmm.
and in the legal sense, like got permission and said, hey, and
I'd like to paint a mural on this wall. Will someone let me do
Yeah,
it?
well, I got commissioned by the very school district that we previously.
Committed suicide on?
Yeah, I got permission from them to do like a Happy Kids mural that kind of went along with one of their like stop and think sort of things that they're doing. So I painted a mural that kind of like acted that out with little cartoons.
Okay.
Down's great. That might give me away. But that along with a couple other murals that I was doing. So I've had this like mural career going, painting schools mostly, and this was a thing that the whole street art thing was a branch of art. And me as an artist, I like to branch out and just try as many different things as I can. Was one of the ones that I like really wanted to go down. That's where all the energy and the passion sort of built up that one night, and it led to this like sort of, for us, like it was a real climax moment. Like, we're gonna go out in the daytime and do this thing that's highly illegal, and it got to this point, and we have these like really deep discussions. We're out there at 2:00 in the morning talking like, is this the right thing to do? How should we do this thing? all of it has a lot of thought behind it. Even though it was like really fresh and we're sort of like infants in this whole thing, this art world, it was real.
There were a couple of times there where we actually butted heads really hard when we went out to do some pieces, where we actually, I don't know, we fought pretty good a couple of times going out, based on whether or not is this the right thing to do based on ethics, or is this the right thing based on what direction we want to go in. And so there's a lot of difficulty with that as well.
But that's probably cool fighting, right? Or was it bad fighting? Because I look at that as like a cool sort of like we're both passionate, we both have different opinions, but we come to a like I think of that as the creative process, not like how a band works on a song, not like how a couple fights when they resent each other.
I think there was definitely some growth that came from these fights, but I don't know that the fights were absolutely necessary. I feel like if things had been a little bit different at the time, that we wouldn't have needed to fight to get to where we ended.
Yeah, there's just some like real life circumstances that hindered just being able to go out that late at night. I mean, just like relationships, friends, and jobs, and all that stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So just balancing all that as a kid in college is difficult, and having school also on top of that. So it's like thinking about all those things and having this thing that could end all that was heavy.
Yeah. So, do you ever think about doing it again, or is the street
Art career. Really?
Yep.
It's so funny because I've even said like times when I'm with Jelly,
we'll be driving and I'll be like, that would be a really good place to tag. Like that would be a really good, cool spot to tag. There's a fast food restaurant that went out of business and was out of business for probably like 7 months. It's very close to where we are. Was out of business for like 7 months. And before it turned into something else, all the walls had been kind of stripped, and it's in this place where everyone goes by. And there's like a perfect ledge that you could stand on to paint on this like bright white wall that is where your eyes would immediately go to every time you drive by there. And I just constantly would look at it. I feel like I must have said it 3 times, at least to you. It was like, that place would be really good. And you're like, yeah, we can't do it. And I'm like, but don't you kind of feel like it? And you're like, yeah, but we can't do it.
Yes. Yeah, that is exactly correct.
So how does it go through your head all the time? Like, that would be a cool spot, or like, this would be a cool thing to stencil, or this would be
I have a list of perfect places and things I would may or may not put there in the back of my head going, like, in the town that I currently live in, the town we did live in, down. And then you can't turn that off when you do it like that. You can't turn that sort of eye off. Like, you always see, like, you see somebody else's work and you're like, oh, I can do something like that right next to that to play off of it. So well,
even today you saw the Obey.
Yeah, I pick it out all the time. Like, I'll pick out, I mean, like, I knew it was a fake, but it might have been him, though. He might have came by and did it.
Yeah.
I see Space Invaders every now and again.
Space Invaders big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
see
think
some of this stuff around.
and then what happens too with those artists is they start, like, say, hey, go do my work over there. Like when we went our separate ways to different towns, I could send him something in the mail. He just goes out and does it.
Gotcha.
That's one more logistical thing. Like, what if that is caught in the middle of the mail?
Yeah.
You have to think of all those things.
I think people get copycats when they become pretty famous as well. Like, I don't think every Space Invader is Space Invader.
Which is kind of the beauty of the whole street art thing, is that you're giving it to the street. So that's now a public piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it started that way, and it's going to get covered up, or it's going to get changed, or you're going to do another one, or somebody's going to not like it or like it. Like, that's the point.
So you guys think about doing it again all the time for, like, the rush and the art and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When will you hit your threshold where you're like, screw it, let's just do it, like you did that random night when you started writing Alien on people's mailbox? Or do you think that threshold will never be crossed again?
I don't think that the threshold is low as scrolling aliens on a power box.
Yeah, they're just out there in the middle of nowhere too. Like, there's no threat. There's no like repercussion. catch since nobody's going to catch us. It was silly. I feel like I have a pretty good tap to keep myself from reaching any kind of threshold like that. If I feel a real need to do something like that, I'll just do it on canvas or paper. And I'll just spend all of my time and energy on, because a lot of what I learned from Obscuro was how to look at negative space and how the layout of the piece needs to be. Just kind of a little bit how to draw. And I've sort of converted that into doing it in a little bit more of a legal sense, and I can sort of try and make myself better and just do it on a piece of paper.
You don't feel the need to like get it out.
Yeah, and so I guess all of my energy is now drained into creating a piece from scratch, instead of having Obscuro cut it out or having him draw to begin with. I'll do all these things, and then at the end of all that, I just feel good having created it, and then just putting it on a piece of paper and calling it a day.
You don't need it to go out somewhere.
And we've discussed alternatives to just like doing a permanent thing. There's like wheat pasting, which you can just spray off with a hose, or if it rains, then it just comes off the wall. It's just pasting paper up with your image up there. So you still get to spray it, you still get to go out and use the wheat paste and get it up on the wall and then run away, and then there's still the rush, and it's not as permanent, it's still defacing, but it doesn't damage anything the same way.
So the repercussions are less if you were to get caught.
I don't think they'd necessarily be less,
But people are a lot less to file charges for it, I guess.
Yeah.
People are a lot less prone to be upset about it when they can just either wait till the rain washes it off or spray it with a hose real quick.
So you, as sort of the Obscuro, as the more talent-oriented one, because art is like a big function of your life.
Yeah.
Is your threshold a little bit lower in terms of like, if you put it all together and you make a piece, are you like Jelly said, like, okay, now I'm happy, like I made it from start to finish, that's all I need? Or is yours a little bit more like, it wouldn't take as big a push for you to get out there?
I think I have so many different branches in my art life that I just went back and went down another branch. So I create a lot of art in a lot of different ways. We're making a comic book, so that's a way that our energy is coming together. There's a comic book, and then I have other jobs that are really art oriented, and it's a job that my threshold is a lot higher now for going out and doing illegal things. It would be really bad for me to go out and do illegal stuff. You still do it.
You should be really good at doing it.
yes.
I need a little bit.
Maybe that could be like your new symbol, because you can't use Jelly Squid Kid is basically dead, so you'd have to be like the Knit Squid Kid.
Yeah, because the knit squid kid just knit jelly hats.
Yeah, it's like jellies, but they're like getting knitted off the
I
side.
know a person who does stuff like that. They knit like around trees and crap.
Oh yeah, I think it was just some like feminist artist. Not just some feminist artist. She's like pretty good. She's famous. She also traces like shadows in the dark. So like if there's like a street light and it shows through a fence, and she traces that shadow of the fence. So that shadow is still there in the daytime.
Is that illegal?
No, because it's just chalk. Well, that even like along the line, it's all kind of weird. Yes, it's illegal, but you're not going to get much trouble for it as spraying that. So, like I say with the weed pasting. So you just have to think of like what medium, what way works best with what you're doing conceptually.
Yeah.
Then go do that. So that's really late in the game of street art. Mm-hmm. So we're talking like after all this spray paint, graffiti and stencil work has gone around, and Space Invader's doing his thing. Then this lady comes along and does this like really different thing. That right there, that thing opened up the game of street art and what it means. Juxtapose jumps on board. That's the magazine that follows a lot of street art. Then it just booms, gets really big, and then people start wanting it on their wall. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. That brings people to our business or to
now
our
it's
area.
Like, I saw Banksy in New Orleans that's like encased in like bulletproof glass, and you can't take it down. And then they have people are commissioned all the time to paint like every power box and stuff, which is like the legal version of like, you know, you're getting commissioned to do it, but the concepts are still the same. And sometimes it's people that are commissioned that have done illegal art in other places that people like, and then they're like, dude, let's just give you a regular outlet to make something cool. I feel like if I were ever to be involved, I would almost want to do like a trip around it. As weird as it is, because I like, if you go in your city, you might see spots like we talked about and be like, that'd be a perfect place to tag. That'd be but I feel like the cool way is to just almost be like, let's go to this city, like the two of us together, and just do like a tagging trip for 3 days. And then like leave, and that way it's like we went down that branch for like 3 days, and then like we just leave that city and go back to our normal lives where we're like not tied into anything that happened.
That's something that's been discussed also, like just meeting halfway from where we live and then doing a thing and then just going back.
How heavily discussed?
Not very heavily in the recent, but when we first parted ways, we talked about doing it a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like right now we both got really good things going in our lives, as far as our jobs go and just our personal lives. That if something happens or we get caught, I mean, more often than not, it's just going to be like a trespassing ticket or something ridiculous like that, which happens quite often with graffiti. But if one of us gets arrested or something like that, then you know that's the end of one of our careers or something like that. And so I don't know. It's weird trying to weigh the risk and rewards of it.
It's like you got to make the art and then get someone else to put it up who doesn't have anything to risk.
Yeah.
And you need a new name and a new logo, because if you do JSK, they're going to find the
it's in a criminal
database. It's in a criminal database.
Oh, we
next to the chocolate factory.
We decommissioned the JSK writer.
So what the name Obscuro now is sort of the at least on my end is the side step to that. So like the Jelly Squid thing happened, then separately I was like, well, if I want to keep doing this, and this was when I was seriously considering it, fresh after, maybe a few months after it had the dust had settled, I started making designs and cutting out stencils and spraying little things and experimenting with the Obscuro logo and the concept of Obscuro moving into more of like a surreal sort of art concept. Doing that all on my own all the time, keeping Jelly in the back of my mind, Jelly the person, and saying like, well, how could I incorporate Jelly into this, or maybe we just only use him as a means to get it up on a wall or something like that. But that never came to fruition. Besides a sketch, like an idea.
And Obscuro just was not very prolific.
Obscuro is very prolific, actually. Obscuro has a lot of stuff sitting around, and he's pretty much ready to go. And that's where he's going to stay until these life logistics
So it's almost like you literally have planned your another movement, sort of, if it happens. Like the gun is loaded. But
actually, the first stencil I did was a gun.
So you have it all. So like, not only do you have a list of places that you would want to tag, you have things that you want to put them, and you've made a lot of the stencils.
Yes.
So basically, you just have to fuck up in your regular personal life so that you can go back to being a street artist again.
Don't get any ideas.
But more or less, I mean, that's the honest truth. Like, if you just fuck up one or two different ways, next thing you know, like
I gave myself a backup plan.
I would also like to point out now that it's known that Obscuro was or is in relation with Jelly or Jelly Squid Kid. That now, if Obscuro does become known to the public, that now I have a connection with that.
But yeah, they could find it in a database.
Not so much in the database, but being a person who went through the legal process of it all, I'd rather not be contacted contacted by the police asking about Obscuro.
Right. So, and then that's like exactly why I had to keep you in the back of my mind. Is it's like, well, I'm not gonna risk his skin again.
Yeah.
Just for me wanting to keep this thing going. So it wasn't gonna be like me going out and doing it without pretty much your permission. I'd be letting you know about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost real. And it was almost me to the point where I was going to call you and say, hey, I'm going to send you some stuff, and you're going to put it up. Because you were bothering me about it. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
Because you were still wanting to...
Yeah, a little bit.
It sounds like addictive, like a drug. Like, you're like, oh, it's bad, there's, like, a lot of risks. But, like, also, when you're on the drug, it's fucking sweet. So, like, yeah, like, all these bad things could really happen. It could fuck up a lot of stuff. But, like, have you ever done the drug? Because it's really great.
I guess you could say it's like doing a drug in that there's a lot of good feeling that comes from it. But it's almost like if you do a drug, but if you're really careful, there's no negative consequences. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. I will be curious to know if Obscuro... Does this, even just talking about this now, like, make you want to...
The more you put it out there, the more energy there is.
Honestly, I just, like, want to wear all black right now and just go put something on a wall. Let's go write aliens on the middle of a power box in the middle of nowhere.
That's the first step. That's the gateway drug.
That's the gateway drug. Aliens. Very cool.
Yeah, that's the way I like to look at street art, is on a spectrum from tagging to street art.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in between: graffiti, stenciling, pasting, all that stuff. It's all on a spectrum, and tagging is the gateway drug. Indeed.
That's cool. And then also there is, like you said, the threshold of, like, who's cool enough to get taken down and who's not.
Yeah.
Because now, like, Space Invader is literally famous enough that it's like, yeah, he's doing illegal things, but, like, he's probably not really at risk for anything anymore, because it's just like...
They still get arrested.
But now it's to the point where, like, he can pay to get himself out. He can pay for whatever, and he's prolific enough as an artist that it's not affecting anything else in his life.
Yeah, Shepard Fairey, the Obey man himself. Actually, I mean, everybody knows that he's got the shirt company and stuff, but he actually designed
Obama.
the Obama poster, yeah.
Which was almost bad too. Like, you got to watch which way you're going, because that was almost sued, and then they pulled that back out. So you got to really watch.
Almost sued for what?
He's almost sued for that, for taking the likeness and then putting his own, like, change or hope under there. Mm-hmm. That's not Obama.
Yeah.
They don't know Obama. Yeah. And then Obama comes around, he's like, well, that's good, but is that what I want to do? And then the fame came.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Yeah, because then once the poster became really cool, then he just, like, was all 100% on board with it. That makes sense, too. I mean, and that's the crazy thing of, like, yeah, where's the line for art and whatever. And then there's also, like, the sellout part of it, too, for sure. Where it's like, well, now he's making T-shirts and he's selling, like, money and posters, and it's, like, associated with, you know, a political thing. I think there's interest in that, too. Like, how far did your street art go into, like, business, and how far is it just, like you said, just a thought process with every single part of it? I think that's it, unless you guys have anything else you want to add, unless we're tapped out, unless the spray can is empty.
That's it. I'm hearing the little ball at the bottom of the can.
Yeah. Honestly, I want to go graffiti something right now.
Good.
And I'm saying graffiti because I'm not good enough to make it art, so it would just be graffiti, and whatever intention I would have would not come across. So people would be like, why is there just, like, weird... Is that just black spaghetti? Like, what is that?
That was actually another thing. So when the detective was asking me about the different pieces, one of the pieces he asked about was this crappy little freehand chicken that was drawn on a power box that we actually did because there was a point when we were doing stencils where we considered doing freehand. And just when we were out one night, like, hey, let me give this a try. And he sprays this stupid-looking chicken on the side of this power box, and then we left, and I don't think we really ever gave it a second thought after that. We just decided we were better at stencils. But the detective had a picture of that chicken.
Did you say it was yours, or were you too embarrassed?
Well, if you looked at it, he was like, I'm not really sure what is is this one you as well? And I looked at it for a second, and I was like, yeah, that's mine. And then but he didn't even make me initial that one. He didn't put it on the record. He's like, I would stick to stencils. And
They just
Is that really what he said?
that's exactly what he said.
Oh, that's so good.
And I believe that is a quote.
He threw shade at your art.
He did. He very much did. And I wasn't going to throw shade back because I didn't want to get
You should have been like, dude, I didn't even fucking draw that one. I'm just trying not to bail out this other kid.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so great.
Pretty much, I owe Jelly my professional life because of how that went down. Just because he kept his trap shut.
No, that was an agreement that we made beforehand. Is that if either of us got caught, that we weren't going to rat the other one.
That's rule number like 3 or 4.
Yeah, cool. What was rule number 1?
Don't spray in the rain. Why? Because it's rainy. Because it sucks. And your stencil like falls apart.
Did you guys have to do that before you learned that?
Yes. Yep. That's how dumb we were to begin with.
And what was rule number 2?
Always wear gloves.
Yeah, that seems pretty intelligent too.
Yeah. You know, like, hey, do you wear guys spray paint tonight? Like, no, look at your hands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very cool. I feel like you guys are going to tag something because of this conversation, and then we're going to have to meet back and do this again. It's going to happen. Jelly says no really intensely, but Obscuro's face right now is just like he really wants the drug. All right, I think we're good. I think we're done.